This conference will now be recorded.
I hope you can see my screen.
Yes, we are able to see.
Yes, Vishnu.
Okay. So I will talk about the program, what we are planning. Give me 1 minute. Sorry. Okay, so let me give a brief overview about what our plans are. For the next 3 months, our training would take a total 3 months to complete, and we start from tomorrow. Tomorrow is the first class, and timing and meeting link are same as today.
Hi, Basil. This is Madhu.
Hi Madhu, hi, good to see you.
May I know the timings from tomorrow?
Same time, it's going to be always 7:30 to 9. That is
Okay.
what will look like. Yeah.
Okay. Course duration is 3 months, right?
A course duration is 3 months, correct?
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
Excuse me, for 3 months, how many times a week do we have to meet?
It would be Monday to Friday. The classes are going to be from Monday to Friday, morning 7:30 to 9 IST. It's the same time as we joined today, and it's going to continue for the same pattern is going to continue for next 3 months. And that's how the timing will look like. So overall, I'm talking about some 102 hours, and yeah, yeah, and we start tomorrow. Okay. So that's what our program would be, and it's going to be more like a job-oriented program. We will be working on some project. Mainly our entire program is split into 4 categories. One is config management. That would be our first training after we completed the prerequisites. Actually, starting from tomorrow, we are going to learn a few things that are needed for you to start that. Before you learn DevOps, there are certain things that you need to know, especially the people from Linux background. It's a good, it will help actually. And people who are not from Linux background, first couple of days we will spend starting from tomorrow. Tomorrow everyone will create a Linux machine, and in the AWS cloud all of you will have your own lab environment, and you will create a Linux machine. And first couple of days we will spend on learning Linux. And it's not about learning Linux, but making yourself comfortable with the Linux command line. That is more important, because throughout the training we are going to use Linux a lot. That's why everyone should be comfortable working in Linux. So first couple of days would be, it might be a little boring to those people who know Linux, but we want to make sure that everyone is in pace. So first couple of days we will spend on the Linux command line. It's all about making yourself comfortable with the Linux command line. That is the main intention. And then we talk about softwares and web applications, how you can run a website on a Linux environment. We will talk about that, your own website. And then it's all about, not about running website, but rather you try to understand how exactly a software work or a software can be deployed. And then we talk about how you can put a software inside a Docker container and run the software. Those things we will discuss, and we will we will learn how to develop your own software as a Docker image or a Docker container. These are few things that you need to know before we start the training. Very important topics. Actually, most of the topic would be new to you, and this week is extremely important, because most of the use cases what we discuss here, we are going to use them in throughout the training. That's why. So the prerequisites training will start from tomorrow. Tomorrow we will set up the lab environment in AWS, and then we will instantly start. And once you completed the prerequisites, which would take 1.5 weeks, I suppose, after that we will move on to our advanced training. That include our advanced program is split into 4 categories. One is the config management training. It will take total 3 weeks, 2 weeks of training and 1 week project. Then we will start with the CI/CD training, and that is also, every training will have the same format. We will continue the training for 2 weeks, and then you will do a project. All of you will work together, and one of you who is already working in the project management side will lead this project, and you will split into different teams. 4 or 5 teams would be there for each project, and these are actually very advanced project. Generally, if 1 or 2 people do inside a company, these are projects that can take months, 4 or 5 months can take, but we try to complete it within 1 week. So that also means that all of you will have enough work during the project week. So make sure that you engage with the team and complete the project. That is the most important part in our training. And for every training, that is the case. Even CI/CD training, we will spend 2 weeks on that, and then we will start a project. Then the Kubernetes advanced training, where that would also be a 2 weeks training, and then we will start a project. And then containerization and cloud orchestration. This is also a kind of Kubernetes training only, but we will try to understand how Kubernetes is implemented in various cloud computing providers, the most popular ones: Google Cloud, Microsoft Azure, and AWS. And after 2 weeks of training, we will do one project also. And this is how our course pattern is going to look like. All right. So that's the thing. And yeah. So before we start, I will give you a quick overview about the software. What is a software and how it works. I will take some real example like Amazon or Flipkart.com, right, and just give you an overview. What are the challenges that people face when manage? So our the role of DevOps engineer is to solve these challenges. There are many challenges that when it comes to managing a software. Your company have a software and your company is managing that software. A lot of challenge can come across. The config management you may have heard about. Your software will have lots of configuration that need to be managed in a automated way. So that is the problem we are trying to solve in this training, config management training. And the CI/CD training is, this is the most important part. And nowadays every company must implement these practices, and that is what a CI/CD. So it's all about a convenient life for developers, or you can say a convenient work culture to be developed inside the company, where people would be focusing on their own jobs, and the rest of the things should be done in a more automated way. For example, a developer who is working on the development, so his only job should be to do the development. He should not be spending or wasting his time on compiling the code or building the code, creating the Docker images, and then deploying them. So those things are not a work to be done by developers. It should be done in a more automated way. That is the idea. So this is a very important training. It will help you understand how you work inside a company, and what are the main problem. These are the major problem that in DevOps and in any IT company that we must solve. This should be given the most priority, right? And we learn different tools. In config management we learn Ansible, Nagios also we are learning for monitoring purpose. And CI/CD training we learn a bunch of tools like GitHub, Maven, NPM. Maven and NPM we are not learning in depth, but just an overview. Docker, Jenkins, Minikube, and those things we are learning. Then in the Kubernetes advanced project, it is all about Docker and Kubernetes and containerization in the cloud. We learn three cloud computing providers, implementation for container orchestration. So there are a bunch of tools, rather than we learn all these tools in depth, rather than the tools, we would be working more like a, a project way. And then in the Kubernetes advanced training, we try to solve a problem in production when you have a software and when you run your software for your customers in a production environment. At that time, there can be a lot of challenge, right? Software should be monitored continuously. If any service goes down, it should be restarted. Sometimes huge traffic can come to your website, and there should be enough machine to handle the traffic, and if there are no enough machines, automatically more machines should get created. So there are a number of problems in production when you manage a production environment. So we try to solve those kind of problems during the Kubernetes advanced training. And then this training would be all about migrations. And nowadays many people prefer not to trust one cloud computing provider, right? For example, companies will have different business strategies, and because of that, they may want to run business in India, they may want to run business in Singapore, and they may want to run business in Europe. And in different countries or different locations, it may be different cloud computing providers. So every company today prefer a strategy. Their software should be ready to run anywhere, any location in the world on any cloud computing providers, and Kubernetes solve such kind of problems today. Kubernetes is, now it has become a very good standard that can solve this problem and make your software easily portable, or you don't even need to go through any hustle when you want to migrate a software from India to Singapore or from Google Cloud to AWS. Kubernetes at its core can have a lot of capability that will help you remove these headaches. So these are the four problems that we try to solve. And to understand that better, I would just give you one scenario so that you will get an idea. But don't worry much about the technical part what I am discussing. Just try to understand our roadmap on a high level basis. Today, my intention is for all of you to understand what we are going to do for next 3 months. Okay, it is very important that you understand that very all right. So I will do some drawing for easier understanding. So nowadays softwares are developed like small services. So if you think about flipkart.com or think about amazon.com, so nowadays people don't develop software as a single monolithic software. Instead, they will develop a small software components which are commonly called microservices. And it does not has to be microservice. It can be a little big one also. But developing everything in a single software is not a good idea, because it can make your system complex, right? So because of that reason, nowadays, all the company prefer to develop small software components, such as shopping cart. Think about Flipkart company; they will have different software components. One is named shopping cart, which takes care of all the operation related to shopping cart, and another software that takes care of all the operation related to prime customer. Then a database for storing the data. You have a database software. Then for managing the order and order history, you have a order software. And then you have a front-end software, that is what the customer browser will connect to. Then you may have a backend software also. So there can be a number of software that Flipkart company or Amazon would be developing, and then they will work together. For example, these softwares, assume all the softwares are running on a machine. So you have the Flipkart company, have various software that they developed, and they are developed in different programming languages, right? Maybe backend is developed in Node.js, some JavaScript. Frontend is developed in some JavaScript or something. Shopping cart is developed in Java. Prime customer could be developed in Python. There are various programming languages, and nowadays, it is flexible for developers. They can use the programming language based on the need, because all this software what they are developing are independent. you know Generally, the person who is working on the shopping cart software, he does not really want to know much details about prime customer or database, but he must know certain things, but he don't have to know everything. He can actually keep looking at shopping cart, keep adding more features in the shopping cart. So it is all about, if you develop small software, it would become easy for the company to make changes in the software. That is the main idea. And after developing the software, what companies do, they will run the software inside some servers, some machines. These machines could be, it could be the machine that you bought from Amazon Web Services or from the Google Cloud. There are various cloud computing providers today, or some companies would create their own machines in their data center. That's also an option. So this software will be running on these machines. And then your customers, right? Your customers from their computer, when they browse for flipkart.com, I mean, don't try to understand each and every technical details what I am trying to explain. Keep yourself on a very high level. Don't worry much about the technical part. Once we completed the prerequisites training, you will understand the technical part of it. For now, just try to understand on a high level, and in simple words I'm trying to explain the problems that IT companies are facing. Okay, so assume the front end software is running inside this machine, and then the backend software is running on some different machine. And like that, different software components are running on different machines in the cloud. It could be in the cloud or it could be anywhere. So from your browser, the customers of Amazon.com or customers of Flipkart company, the retailer, they browse for Flipkart.com, and their browser would be connecting to a machine which contains the front end. Their browser will communicate to. That's what happens when you browse for Google.com. Your browser is communicating to the Google.com front end server and getting the web page from there. And this machine contains the Flipkart.com web page, and then it will respond to the browser, and then that is when you see the Flipkart.com web page got displayed on your browser. Then you try to do something, right? You try to log in on the flipkart.com website, you enter your email ID and password, then you try to log in, click on the login button, then you get logged in. Then after you log in, you may want to make some order, you want to purchase something. Then probably it is the shopping cart machine which will get the request. Then when you try to log in, probably it is a database that would work with your application and validate if you entered the correct username and password, right? Flipkart company already have your email ID and password. So when you enter that on your browser, some software component will check in the database, this credential that he entered on the browser is matching the value in the database. If it is matching, then yeah, you get logged in. So your browser may want to connect to the backend. When you are creating the shopping cart, the browser may be connecting to the shopping cart, and shopping cart might internally want to connect to the database. Though this kind of communication need to happen continuously, right? Because shopping cart, when you try to create a shopping cart, assume you logged in on the flipkart.com website, and now you are trying to create a shopping cart. You selected an item, you selected a mobile phone from the flipkart.com website. Then the shopping cart software would get the request. What the shopping cart software does then is it will check, it will check in the database what is the price of that mobile phone, and then it will collect what is the description, what is the more data about that product. It will collect all the data from the database, and then it will print you on the browser. The front end is probably connected with shopping cart, and then it will print the result on the browser. So this is the way how it works. Your browser communicate to probably more than one software directly, and many of these software communicate each other internally. Shopping cart might want to talk to the prime customer software to understand if there are any offer for the prime customers, right? And shopping cart or maybe some data analytics software might want to check the database to understand what are the previous orders made by this customer, then give him some recommendation to buy similar product. So like that, all this software that Flipkart company, I mean, don't worry much, right? Don't get into much technical depth. All this software that Flipkart company had developed, they run on different server machines. It could be machines bought from the cloud, and they may want to communicate each other, and your browser may want to communicate to them directly. This is the way how a software work. I'm taking the example of a web application, but generally every software work in this architecture. So there has to be proper communication that happens between the software. So one problem what we have to try to solve is the config management, right? I told you this is going to be after the prerequisites, we directly jump into config management. So I will tell you what are the difficulties that companies are facing in the config management. From this perspective, I will try to explain. So I told you the shopping cart want to connect to the prime customer to check the offers of prime customer. Shopping cart may want to connect to the database to understand what data is there inside, and like that for every software there are configurations. Shopping cart software want to know the IP address of the prime customer software, IP address or whatever. I mean, shopping cart need to know how to communicate to the prime customer software. So you have to give that information. Shopping cart is a working software the company developed, but without this information shopping cart cannot work properly. Shopping cart want to know how to connect to prime. Shopping cart want to know how to connect to the database. What is the name of the database? What are the credentials to connect to the database? Backend want to know all this information as well. Different. So every software that your developers develop want to know a lot of information, which we call configuration. Without the configuration, software won't function properly. And even when you install a software on your laptop, think about, you want to install Firefox on your laptop, you download the exe file from Mozilla website, then you double click and you try to install Firefox. It will ask you for configuration, where you want to install it, where the binaries are going to be located. So you have to provide that information. Then you click next, then it will ask you, do you want to create a shortcut on the browser, or Firefox, should it update automatically or not? You can check the box if you want Firefox to get updates automatically. Then you click on next, then it will ask you, or do you want to set a home page? Every time you open Firefox browser, you might want to set a home page. So what would be that home page? So you have to provide this information to Firefox, then only the Firefox will work properly, or it will get installed properly as per your requirement. So configuration simply means that making the software aware of few data without which it cannot function properly. So if I tell about configuration in a software company, it's a huge number actually. I mean, you want to know how many server you have, how many software components you have, which software component should run on which server, and which software component want to talk to the other component, how to talk to that other component, what is the IP address of the other component, what is the credentials, if there are any, to connect to that component. So these information, every software component needs such kind of information, a lot of information. So think about a company who has some, 100 or 500 surveys, or even startup company may have those many machines. Think about Flipkart, they may have, 10,000 or maybe 1 lakh surveys, and they may have some 50 or 100 software components. And each software component, each server will have different configurations. So it is not technically possible for a person to watch the machines and provide configuration. That has to happen automatically. You have to build a system which know all the configuration of your entire softwares, all the machines, and it will automatically apply these configurations to each and every machine, to each and every software component. So that is the problem we will be trying to solve during the config management training. Mainly we learn Ansible. Ansible is the tool that we use, and after that you will do a project which would be a multi-tier project where you have to automate all the configurations using Ansible. That is how the training will look. It will be a 2 weeks training, and then there will be a 1 week of project. And once we solve that problem, we will move on to CI/CD training. That is another training where we try to solve, do a lot of automation so that it will improve the team collaboration, rather than developers should not be waiting for a QA engineer to do the testing. That must happen automatically. Or developer should not wait for a Linux engineer to create machines for him. That must happen automatically. A developer should not, or I mean, that is the case for everyone. There should not be much dependency between the people. That can, that can cause a lot of delay in the software development. So CI/CD training is all about, making the work culture better. That is the overall idea. So I will just try to quickly explain the scenario. So a company is developing lots of software, right? A Flipkart company is developing shopping cart, backend software, front-end software, database, order management software, prime customer software, like that. They're developing, 50 or 100 small software components. And every time they do the coding, they always expect, some issues. Believe me, every time developer do the coding, they will make one or two errors, and that is how it works. For every company, that is the case. You cannot expect a software without issues. All software, even Flipkart, Amazon, even Google, have issues. The issues will keep happening every time the developer do some coding, and these issues need to be detected, and these issues need to be resolved, and also software need to be changed. Google is using a different algorithm than what they used last month, right? Every, on a daily basis or on a weekly basis, or maybe on a, at least on a monthly basis, every company has to keep on changing their software. They have to keep making some change in the software, and every time they make some code change, then that would result in more issues. You have to fix them also. Then you will keep, you fix them, and then you have to wait for QA engineer to do the testing, and QA engineer will do the testing and give you the feedback. Then you again, fix those problems reported by them. So this is how it will work, and at that time you have to make more change in the software. So this is the way how things works in a company. And their developers are not Linux experts, right? So if you want to test a software, you need a Linux machine, or a Windows machine where you want to run the software and do the testing. So the developer don't know how to create such kind of machines, so they need help from the operation team. So all this kind of relationship between the team is actually not, is right. Generally, Linux engineers or operation team is a very busy team. In every company, they are pretty busy and they are overloaded. So developer have to wait for the issue to get resolved, which is not a good idea. So we try to solve all those problems by automating a lot of system. And during the project also we will be taking different microservices. One is in Java, other one is in Python, and another one is in React, so JavaScript. And then we try to make sure that the testing, the compilation, a developer have to do the compilation, developer have to build Docker images. Before that, they have to build some executable file. Then they have to run these software inside a machine, and so all these things must happen in a automated way. It would be something like this: developer will make the code change, and then some automation will begin that will compile the code, build it into executable files, create Docker images, run them on Minikube, or run them on some servers. Then developer can instantly see the work that they have done. And also the testing will also happen automatically. If there is an error, developer would get an email. If there is no error, then developer does not have to worry about it. Developer don't have to depend on any person. He get the reports automatically. So generally, if there is an error, he will get the email. Then only he need to worry. Otherwise, he can keep on working on the software without having to worry about other people. Not only developer, everyone in the team must do the same thing. So for that, you need to do a lot of automation, and you have to use different tools. Actually, one tool is not sufficient to do all the automation. You need some source code management tools, build tools, Docker. You need some CI tools, etc. And this will be a hands-on training, and after that you have to do one project yourself, which would be a very good project that you are going to work in. And then Kubernetes advanced training. So all these machines can go down at any time. These machines, at the end, they are all electronic devices, whether they are cloud machines or whether they are you are on data center machine, right? These are machines that can go down anytime. I mean, they are electronic devices, and network can fail, the software can crash, different problems can keep coming across when a company work on a software. So this is the toughest process actually, to manage a production environment. You don't want your customers to facing any problem, right? So a software get crashed, it must be restarted automatically. You don't have enough machines, more machines should be created in the cloud automatically, because sometimes you are getting huge traffic. Think about the Flipkart big billion day. On that particular day, maybe Flipkart is expecting 10 times traffic than what they used to see in normal days. So based on the need, more machines should get scaled up automatically to handle the extra traffic coming from your customers. That thing also is something you should take care, and it should happen automatically. And like that, many problems, you must keep on monitoring all the software. If there is a problem, they must be restarted, but also you must came to know about the problem. So this is the most important part actually. And unfortunately, the part where people give less importance, the startups, but not big companies. So Kubernetes solves such kind of problems. We can create a cluster of surveys that can increase or decrease automatically and handle the traffic with with very simple instruction that you give it to it. It's very easy than what you think. So that is one training, and we try to solve these kind of problems. And then our last part is a containerization and cloud orchestration. And I already told you, right? You may want to replicate your infrastructure in any cloud provider and in any location in the world, right? Most of the company do that nowadays. They do business in more than one country, more than one location. And maybe in India there is AWS, but in a different country, for example Kenya, there is no AWS. So you have to figure out what cloud provider they have in Kenya and use that. So Kubernetes standardize all these things, make your software infrastructure descriptive. You can actually write your infrastructure as a Kubernetes configuration files, and the same infrastructure can be replicated in any place in the world and in any cloud computing provider. So we try to understand how this is a necessity in most of the company nowadays. And even if it is not a necessity today, most of the company want to plan their infrastructure in such manner. So that is the problem we are trying to solve: how to standardize your infrastructure and make it portable. And that is what this training is all about. And for every project that we do, this is the most important part in our training. For every project that you do, we will do the right practices. You may have to, for example, when we do the CI/CD project, or when you do the Kubernetes project, you will be taking a tier 3 application. You have to figure out how to build Docker image and where to keep the Docker image, and how your service would pull the Docker image and deploy the containers. And sorry, I'm using technical words, don't worry about them. But the project would be very advanced. Generally, this project, if it is done by you in your company, it might take at least 4 or 5 months. But we try to complete it in a more coordinated, and it's coordinated very well. There will be a project manager, experienced project manager, who will lead the project. We follow the agile practices, and there would be planning, there would be daily stand-ups and retro. And at the end of the project, I will explain it from a interviewer perspective, how you can explain this project to an interviewer. And people do that. My students, what they generally do is, you are not working in DevOps, right? I mean, some of you are working a little bit on DevOps, but generally none of you may not have a good project to show, right? When you're looking out for a job change, that become necessary. So these projects are good project that can be big enough to explain to an interviewer with a very convincing way. So at the end of the project, we will have a discussion on, those who are looking out for job change. We will have a discussion about the interview and how to manage that thing. All these things we'll discuss. And yeah, that is how our training will look like. And DevOps is a good job to work in, actually. I think most of you are here because I may not have to explain this. It provides a good work-life balance. There is no shift. It's convenient. Generally, especially in India, in Bangalore, or in the startups, you get a very convenient timing to work. That is, there is no monitoring, or this is not like a Linux admin job, or this is not like a monitoring job. This is a lot different, and it has a very good, and it's an interesting job, actually. You basically make the life of your company better, and the people, right? And that is, it's a interesting job, actually, and it is one of the highly paid job also today. And the market is really facing a lack of expertise in DevOps. So it has, and of course there are a lot of things to learn. There are a lot of things to learn, and especially in the project weeks, you may have to spend some extra time, but you can decide the time. It's not strict. Our classes would be always, even project session would also be always from 7:30 a.m. to 9 a.m. But you may have some other work to do, that you can plan with your team, manage with your team, and do it, and make use of the resources. And because the good thing for our program is that we have experts from different fields. So use their expertise and talk to them, interact with them. The project weeks are very important for everyone, for each one of you, especially those who are looking out for a job change. uh, the project weeks are extremely important, believe me. And that's all, I think. Yeah, you will also, everyday classes I will be recording, and you would get access to the recorded video. And also there is a portal that, currently it is down. I will send you the portal tomorrow or day after. You will get access to that. That is where we will be sharing our data, assignments or project also. then some tutorials, some notes. I would be sharing them on a portal. You will get access to that portal, and the daily videos are also recorded and shared with you. So that's the thing.
Bashir, I do have one question actually.
Yes, go ahead. Who is
Yeah,
this?
Bashir. So, what should be the system configuration to install all these softwares?
We won't be working on our laptops. We will be using cloud as the lab environment. So tomorrow, that's what we will do. All of you will create a AWS account and a Linux machine over there. That is where
Yeah.
we will be working. Okay. Yeah.
Okay, Bashir, sounds good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, Basil, I have one question here. Since we are, myself and other two, three members were from testing background. So, in which way this will enhance our profile and how it will be useful for our regular activities in testing?
Okay. So for the people from the QA background, why DevOps is actually for everyone, DevOps is extremely important. The people from QA background, currently you may be doing some manual testing and some automation testing, and most of the time you run them, right? Even though they are automation script, you probably created those scripts and you run them. So that is actually not a good idea. Basically, the testing for every scenario, there should be a selected list of test cases to be created, and you do that, and you include that part of the CI/CD process, so that your job would be to develop these automation scripts, and running the things, you will leave it to the CI/CD process. You won't run it. You are, at the end, there should be no reason for the developers to ask you to do some testing. Of course, there will be. I mean, I'm not saying none of these things can be done in the most perfect way, right? Whatever I said today are ideal cases. There are exceptions. I mean, no company do everything 100% perfect, but it's all about, you should be, as a QA engineer, you should be focusing on developing the test cases and stuff, and rest of the things should be left to the CI/CD automated system. That is the overall idea, and that would improve your job a lot. And nowadays, most of the company prefer, do such kind of testing as part of the CI/CD process rather than doing it manually.
Okay, thanks, Basil.
Hi,
And you know,
Basil. Karthik here. Hello.
yeah, Karthik. Go ahead, Karthik. Yes.
Yeah, Basil, I had a review of all the topics that we would be discussing and also the projects. So, yeah, so there are three things that I would want to check if we are covering that. So, the first thing is like with the DevOps. So, definitely we would need a skill set to review the codes. It can be either a Bash script or a Python code. So, do we have any like a project or a story that would be working on the project? And also the second thing is, do we also focus on any security tools within this CI/CD? And the third thing is basically the log management. So as you know, within DevOps, we can't ignore the logging. So during each phase of the DevOps cycle or CI/CD cycle, so are we focusing any project or tools for the log management, learning, or something?
Okay. So yeah, the first question, it's about scripting. So you don't need to do the scripting, and you don't even need to be a developer also. DevOps job is complete, and nowadays people don't prefer using script in DevOps. It's all about using maximum tools to automate different tasks. There are tools available, and today, today it's not the situation like it was 2 years before. For each and every kind of automation, there are set of tools available, and that is always the recommended way. So we avoid scripting whenever possible, but at times you still have to write some script, and sometimes shell script, or it can be a Python program. And I would be providing you both shell scripting and Python programming courses in the portal. It will be a self-paced course. You have to take it yourself, but it is my training which I used to take before. You can watch the video, and you don't have to be a coding expert. Coding expertise is not needed to work as a DevOps engineer. And yeah, that's the first answer. And what was the second question?
The second was around the security. Like in each, like after each code, so we would be having a particular tool to check the quality of the code or the artifact which was generated. So are we going to have any such project which covers part of DevSecOps as well?
We have the project which is actually a common project, but this particular code quality check is currently not included in our topic list. So, but if you can remind me, I can give you a brief overview about Sonar Cube. I
Sure.
still don't
Okay.
want to include that in the list, but anything can be discussed during the training. That won't be a problem.
Sure. Perfect. And the third one was around the logging. Like we need to just capture the logs. So either from the containers or Kubernetes or any CI/CD related tools based logs. For example, they might be around, work around the Prometheus or Elastic or something, log management. So are we covering any project around log management?
We have the Kubernetes project, but again, that is not about log management. Log management is not included as of now in the topics list, but in Kubernetes it is pretty easy, so I can discuss that also if you could remind me. It's pretty easy. It's basically you can even develop a dashboard that contains all the container logs in a matter of 5 minutes. So yeah, uh, we will discuss that. It just remind me. We will discuss that also during our Kubernetes training.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Basil.
And you can actually bring in any questions, and we will try to make the entire program more interactive. Whether it is outside the topic list also, it can be discussed. Of course, we won't be spending much time on them, but I can answer your questions because I might have already used them. So I will be able to answer your questions and give you the clarifications. So anyone else? I was actually expecting a lot of questions today.
Hello, I was
Hey,
like, I was asking, yeah, like how many years of experience can we put up to this training? Like
it would be
this would
more
be
like a
range.
personal judgment, I would say. Generally, it can be one or two. I mean, all your experience is relevant experience. You are from Linux background, which is a relevant experience for DevOps. You are from development background or QA background. So all your experience are relevant, but how do you project yourself as a DevOps expert? DevOps can get 1 or 2 years. That is good. And generally, in DevOps interviews also, they don't really care much about how much time you worked on DevOps. Since DevOps is a vast profile, even the people who worked for 4 years may not have worked as much as the person who worked for 1 year completely. So because the work varies a lot within DevOps, and that is a thing. So generally in interviewers don't bother much about how much time you worked on DevOps. It's all about your knowledge. That's what they will definitely care about. In DevOps interviews, that is the case.
Okay, got it. Thank you.
And yeah, use your personal judgment. Maybe all the people from Linux background, they can even put little more also, because Linux admins try to solve these problems themselves. And with DevOps, you try to avoid human involvement in solving the problem. So the Linux admin might have worked on many of these problems what we are going to discuss, right? But not in the automatic way. So they can, from their experience, they may be able to put a little more experience than others do on. If you are from, so that you will get to know how much to put, and it is completely up to you. It would be more like a personal judgment how much you want to put.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Uh,
Thanks for that.
yeah, Basil, I have another question. So can we have or can we attend site reliability engineer position interviews as well after this training, or is it only focused on DevOps?
It's not, yeah, people applies for site reliability engineer position also, that is there, but DevOps is always the better option. Yeah. So I mean,
Okay.
if it is your interest is to work as site reliability engineer, then it's absolutely okay. It's not a
Hi, Basil. As we talked about this site reliability engineer and DevOps engineer, can you explain what is the difference between these two?
it can be, again, both are voice profiles, and I mean, why you want to know about the difference? Even a site reliability engineer, I won't know the exact job what they do. It's all about managing the infrastructure and managing, and a lot of automation would also come into the site reliability engineer part, and it is a profile that is known for years. DevOps is pretty kind of a new work culture that has evolved recently. So yeah, that's the major difference that you want to know.
Okay. Okay.
Hi, Basil.
Pramod, go ahead, Pramod.
So, as a DevOps engineer, what he has to do that? Does he working in all four sections, like we were told, config management, CI/CD, Kubernetes, in the all four sections?
Generally, that also varies. That is also not a single answer question. So in
Okay.
startups, generally what they do is there would be a DevOps team. There would be a DevOps team which that
Okay.
contain 5 or 6 members, or maybe more than that, and they takes care of everything. All the four things they take
Okay.
care themselves. And if it is a big organization, it depends on how they structure their organization, right? In Akamai, where I was working in, I was actually focusing on deployment for a particular project. I was focusing only on the deployment decisions or related things. I was not part of the CA process because their organization structure demands that. So, are you working on DevOps profile? Yes, but not everything. So that can also come. And in Amazon and such kind of companies, again, even though they are a big company, what they have done is
Mhm.
they have small project, and every project will have a team of DevOps, and they work on almost everything. It all depends on the organization. Generally, only after reading the job description you will get to know what is expected out of you. Yeah, yeah,
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
yeah. Thank you.
Basil, one question here. So, in real time, is everyone working on some cloud only when it comes to DevOps?
No, no, there is no direct relationship between DevOps and cloud. That is not there. But cloud would be mostly preferred when you want to do a lot of infrastructure automation, such as the machine creation, server creation, or sometimes you want to manage your Docker images, distribute them. So in such cases, if you use cloud, it is lot easier, and a DevOps engineer who work with cloud do an easier job than DevOps engineer who work with the data centers and their own servers. So that difference is always there, but there is no direct relationship between cloud and DevOps. Even the people who don't use cloud can also implement DevOps practices.
Okay, thank you.
Hi Basil, Ramdas here.
Hey, Ranga.
So my current job has been in Azure a lot on day-to-day basis, but less in AWS. Okay, so how one should decide if we should go for a particular cloud while moving on to DevOps, or is it good to have a multi-cloud profile, means having knowledge of multiple cloud providers?
No,
So
when
how
you are
one should sorry,
go ahead. Please
yeah,
complete the
how
question.
one should judge or decide, or is it based on friendliness or past experience, or one should consider the exact market share of that cloud provider, or what should be the basis for preferring the cloud?
Right. Yeah, good question. And the simplest answer would be if you are learning Kubernetes, then multi-cloud is the best option. That is the simplest answer. And then, if I talk more details about it, previously every company used to be tied to some cloud computing. It could be AWS, or it could be Google Cloud, or it could be Microsoft Azure also. The reason is that managing multiple cloud providers is it's a headache. If you have to migrate from one cloud to other cloud, it is a headache. So to keep things simple, every company used to prefer working with only one cloud computing. That was the case before. And since Kubernetes has evolved, Kubernetes provided a way to make your infrastructure independent of any cloud computing provider. So when you are learning Kubernetes, it's always a good idea, learn multi-cloud. You don't have to learn all the cloud services. That is not needed. You just need to learn only the Kubernetes related services. So as a profile, I always narrow down. That would help a lot while finding a job, while trying to find a job. You just narrow down rather than learning a cloud computing provider completely. That is not necessary today. So yeah.
Okay, thanks. Yeah, thanks.
Yes, campus.
Basil, I have a question right now. Will the free tier AWS accounts be efficient in terms of extra compute?
Most of the cases, yes. Actually, in our case, when we learn Kubernetes, you may need to create some extra machines also that might not come under free tier. But
Yeah,
even
I mean,
even even you got charged, it's not going to be some 250 rupees or 300 rupees. That's it.
okay, then
Not.
that's fine because if we go under clustering and everything, if you deploy large number of machines, the charges may vary.
Now, I will explain you, the way how you can avoid the charges. But generally, even for the entire lab, for the entire course, it's not going to be more than 200 or 300 that you pay.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Basil Surya here.
Hi, Surya.
So basically, I understand that most of them in the session are one or the other way directly related to the industry. How likely would you recommend a course like this to a fresher like me? Because even though I have a little bit of testing experience, it doesn't mean that everything makes sense or nothing makes sense. I was able to follow the today's session, but yeah, going forward, do I need to take any other extra courses to fill in those gaps, or yeah?
Right. Actually, the reason why I said some experience is recommended. It's not about the technical expertise.
Mhm.
The people who are already working in IT, even manual testing also, they understand the teams. They know their team. They know the other teams that they are working it. They know a project. They are working on a project, and that is something when you join from a complete fresher background, it's it's always even though it will seem easy, it is always difficult to understand for a fresher who never worked in IT. So
Mhm.
technical expertise, this course don't demand any technical expertise before, but the only reason why the expertise that you need is that to understand a project and understand your team, and even people from technical support also understands that. And the technical side we can take, I mean, we will be starting with prerequisites and moving on to config management. It is going to be smooth, but of course a lot of things to learn, but it won't be a challenge.
Okay. So you mean to say that the experience that is required is non-technical, like working on a project or
Yeah, I'm saying it does not
setting up
have to be
a-
technical. Technical
Oh,
things you can always learn. There are certain things that you can never learn. That is your current working culture or what happens inside an IT company. Who are the teams and whatever work you do. So that is what you need. That's good enough. Technical
okay.
things are not a challenge.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Hello,
Yes.
sorry to interrupt you. I want to add some few questions. Like I have also same issue. Like I just joined SCL as a data center operator, data center operations. Like I have to monitor servers and network equipment. So I just joined it, and I'm fresher here. So maybe I need some experience uh, to switch my job, or I just go in DevOps as a fresher. I can apply in DevOps as a fresher.
No, actually, your background is good. Data center even I was one of you when I started my career. I was taking care of data center operation, Linux administration kind of things, networking also. So we try to solve a lot of problem that you currently face in data center operations and networking. For example, managing the machines, monitoring them, and automating their monitoring. So
Yeah, yeah.
yeah, it's kind of it's a good background. Networking background is good actually.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, yeah. How many years experience
Basically,
you have, Rajiv? I think I didn't ask you, Rajiv.
Actually, I have just 1 month experience. I just joined SCL at 24th Feb, and I was on bench, and I was assigned in project in the end, the starting of April. So I just joined SCL. It's my first job.
Okay, okay, okay. Only 1 month, right?
Yeah,
Try to get involved. Try
that
to
is
get
why I am.
involved, even if you are on bench, right? If you can try to understand what your team do. I don't know if
No,
technically.
no. Right now, I'm not on bench. I was assigned on project, and I'm working on my project. And now my training was almost done. And right now, I'm working. So
Okay.
my working shift is
Keep
started.
explore. Yeah, keep exploring your work also. What
Yeah,
what are the operation that you do? Just keep a lot of keep digging about your work and work hard for this month and next month in your company. Generally, that's what you always do, right? When you join a new company for 6 months is
yeah,
most. So
yeah. You're right.
yeah, yeah. That will help a lot here also in this program also. Saroj, go ahead,
yeah,
sir.
Bashil, so, yeah, I need to hard stop here because I have daily stand up at 8:45. So I
Mhm.
need to start. Yeah, hard stop here.
Sorry, can you come again?
I need to hard stop here because I have daily stand up at 8:45. So
Sure,
I'm
sure,
leaving back.
sure,
Yes, yeah.
sure. No problem.
Thanks,
No
Bashil.
problem.
Yeah, thanks.
I'll
Thanks for the
talk to you.
time.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Yeah. Yeah. Thank you.
Anyone else? Any questions?
Hi, Basil. Suman here.
Hi, Suman.
Yeah, hi. Basil. So this is regarding the the code structure and the codes fees or whatever to say. So like we can
And
connect
that
later
I'll
if you
talk
want.
to you. I'll talk to you later. Yes,
Okay,
yes.
sure, sure.
Some of you are not talking to me directly, right? Though some of you who are not talking to me directly, talk to your contact person about the fees related things. Everyone else, I will be talking to you. And actually, you need to get the confirmation also. So, I mean, there are more people than I expected. Our batch, 20 people would be allowed in the batch. So I request you to get the confirmation as soon as possible from your contact person. Everyone who contacted me, I will ping you separately. And otherwise, please talk to your contact person, get your confirmation soon. That's what I recommend.
Basil, this is Anam. Can I ask you a question?
Yes, Anand. But
Do we need to learn programming language for to become a DevOps engineer, like Python or shell scripting or something like that?
actually, no, I'm not from the programming background. I don't know whether I told you or not. Actually, programming is not needed to work as a DevOps engineer, but some kind of programming may still be needed because sometimes you notice that rather than using one tool for this purpose, maybe some 5 lines code would be sufficient. So then you will write it. So it's going to be very small program. Even if you have to write it, they are going to be too small. And
Mm-hmm.
shell scripting and Python, I have a recorded video, recorded course. You will get access to that course in the portal once you signed up. You will get access to that course of shell scripting and Python both.
So to
And
be
you don't
like
have,
okay, go ahead.
it doesn't have to be, you don't have to be very much skilled on development or programming. That is not necessary.
Mm-hmm. I meant scripting. Like you don't have to be like a great scripter to make things automated, right? You're
No,
gonna use the
no,
tools.
exactly, exactly. That's what always we will do. Actually, in our program also, there are no scripting. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
teaching any some YAML for some small script might come along that you
Mm-hmm.
will
Mm-hmm.
easily understand.
Yeah, that's
So,
okay because the only fear I have is like, do I have to be a good scripter to be successful in
no,
DevOps career? Like, do I have to be very good coder or a scripter or whatever? Because some other training places or courses they are saying they're gonna teach you Python because you have to know the scripting or Bash or shell scripting like this. So I get scared out of it. Like
no,
I have some programming knowledge from university. I know how to trace the coding or how to call the functions and stuff, but I was never a programmer. So
right,
I was thinking, how much programming do you need to be successful in this career?
right. And it was true also. Even 5 years before, DevOps really depend. It depends on programming a lot. 5 years before or in 10 years before, a lot more. So that gap is, nowadays the gap is almost nil. You don't really have to be. And myself, I'm not a scripting expert. I mean, I'm not good at that in development. Probably, it's not my interest. So yeah, that is not a problem.
Hi, Basil. This is Amit Jain.
Thank you.
So my question, yeah, my question is, can we download this all the recording on every basis on our personal system?
It will be a Google Drive. Yeah, they are downloadable videos. Yes.
One more question here, Basil. So basically, what would be the hierarchy of DevOps career? Short-term challenges and long-term challenges.
DevOps is one thing that keep changing. So you started as a DevOps engineer does not mean that you are safe for next 10 years. No, DevOps is one of the field in IT like any other that keeps changing. So you should, a lot of new tools might come that will help you, do automation in a better way. Maybe the way how you did today is not the way how you do after 5 years. You may be using different tools and different technologies, so that will keep changing. As a career, DevOps together, it's one of the best, but again, it will change. You might use some different tool. The practices won't change, but the tools or technology might keep changing.
You mean to say
And
that
after
we should,
five
we should
years,
be.
you, yeah, yeah.
Go ahead, go ahead.
After 5 years, generally, your mentality would change in such a manner that you are not going to use the tools that you learned. You are going to use the tools what is best for the situation. That automatically, that is a mindset a DevOps engineer would keep, it get evolved over time. That's how it should be. You won't use a tool just because you learned it. You would use a tool whatever is best for that situation.
Mhm. So will it be a closed loop or an open loop? Because once after 5 years, let's say you want to look for options or need a shift, is it possible with DevOps?
Of Of course, a lot of field are there. It can be derived to yes. Probably DevOps is one area where you solve a lot of problems, right? And all these problems that you solve could be altogether a different profile. So yes, it's a big yes.
Thank you.
So, Basil, I had one more question. Like how long it should take for one to switch the carrier? Like this will be 3.5 months maximum will be.
Again, it would be an individual decision, but in general, the people, especially the people who perform well on the project, get placed very fast. The guy who led, I will talk about the last project, right? We were doing some project for the last batch, and he was leading that project. He led total two projects, and he was not on, I mean, he had some 3-year experience. Not a Linux expert, but he know Linux, not a cloud expert, but he used cloud also in his job, and he led two projects. And now I believe he got a job in my previous company, where they asked for a DevOps engineer, and I referred him. But that is not the case. I mean, I'm not saying that this is you will get a job once you do this course. That's not the thing. But generally, DevOps engineers always have a good market if you learned in depth, and especially if you are very active on the project. There is always a good market for a DevOps engineer.
Okay, but like basically, like how long it should take on your point of view? Like there should be some.
That's what I said. One person who is currently learning DevOps, who is just winding up his course, he already got a job while he was working. And most of the people generally get job. And there is another problem also. So when you are taking this course, you will keep starting your job search. If you don't do, after 3 months, if you slow down, then it would become so. Just keep, it all depends on a lot of personal judgment need to be there. It can be fast. It can be really fast than you think. Probably during the course itself, it can happen. But yeah, that's the point.
Thank you.
Yes, yes. Thank you.
Basil, when it comes to project, how you'll be dividing team and how many teams you'll be having in daily standard? Like you said, it will be something like real time project experience only. So how you'll be deciding on all this? And yeah, that's all. And post our 2 week training, we'll be having 1 week project. So how much this 2 week training will be enough for us to work on that 1 week project, Basil?
Yeah, even our intention why we are doing the projects is not to enhance your technical skills. Actually, that is not the reason why we are doing the project. And some projects, when they finish it, there may be some technical things pending, which should never happen. The reason why we are doing project is for you to understand the actual work. We'll do the learning. You learn Jenkins in detail, you learn Kubernetes in detail, what are the problems that you can solve using Kubernetes. You will always understand whatever we are discussing during the class, and you can always learn more. technical things. That is not the actual deal. When you go before an interviewer, they don't really care about did you install Kubernetes and how do you install Kubernetes. They are never going to ask such kind of questions. They want to know a few things non-technical, few things about you, what you had worked on a very high level. Not you need to explain him. That is what they really expect, right? We always think that interviewer always expect for your technical depth. No, they don't really care much. I mean, 25% they care about your technical depth. They want to know what you did and how you are working as a team, and what were the challenge that you faced while working, and how did you solve that problem. So those questions has a much depth, and that will help him understand how depth you went into, right? So that is where project come into picture. You need to understand, you will understand what is going on in the project, whether you worked on it or not, doesn't matter. Maybe if not you, there may be somebody who can solve the problem, so you give the problem to him to solve. That's absolutely okay. At the end, the project should be accomplished. So how you worked as a team, how your stand-up meetings were going, those are the things you will understand more. And when it comes to company, solving a problem means that solving a scenario. In your company, the monitoring is not happening very well, and you have to implement some new system that can automate the monitoring and restarting of the services. So how do you manage it? So you would be hearing these kind of scenarios, rather than nobody will come and tell you to set up Kubernetes and run your application there. You have to make that choice yourself. So those things you will never understand just from the training. You will understand them only by doing the project. So that is the reason why we are doing the project.
Yes, Basil. So, will we be able to complete the project in 1 week? And if this project is not completed, are we going with training only, or are we waiting for this project to complete? Because hands-on experience is very much important, like you said. Because just going through some training or just going through some videos will not help us.
No, the
So yeah,
project,
project is very much
our project
important.
will be very well organized, and I would also be part of it. Even though you will have to forget that I am there, but I would also be watching it. You will be doing it yourself, and there are a lot of experts here. And even for our batch, the people who are taking the demo, there are a lot of people from expertise background. So don't worry about the project completion. Project is well coordinated and it will complete. And it is your responsibility to complete. So that is not a problem. It's well organized.
Oh, yeah, thank you, Basil.
Anyone else? Any questions?
Yeah, hi Vasan, Manas here.
Hey, Manas.
So my question is like, right? Yeah, sorry for the late joining. Because my question is, currently my position is a test engineer, but how I can like for DevOps engineer, the designation is software engineer or DevOps coordinator in like that way. So how we can change? Like if I am giving any interview and I'm saying currently I'm working as a test engineer, then definitely they can know. Yeah, I did coaching from outside, and why we can like I don't have real time experience. So
Right.
in this case, how we can like.
Yeah, people from the testing background, basically they have two options, right? One option is that they want to continue to work on the testing background with the best DevOps practices, best CI/CD practices. That is one option. And then other option is that you want to completely change your career into DevOps domain. So these two options are there. So for the first option, this is not a challenge, because right, you are
Yes.
taking an interview, and yeah, it's not a challenge. So I think I don't have to answer that. For the second option, let's say you are planning to change yourself completely into DevOps. At that time, yeah, definitely they will ask if you completely worked on 4 years on testing, probably they definitely don't expect a lot of expertise from you, right? So generally, what people does is they put 1 year experience in DevOps, right? Even though you are not, I'm not saying you are going to change your experience certificate, no. you tell them that recently we started integrating the DevOps practices to the team, and you are one of the key person who is doing the job. And yes, once you completed this training, you have a lot of story to talk about to them. That won't be a problem. Yeah.
Okay, Vasis. Thank you.
Yeah. Yes, Manas.
So, Basil, projects will be kind of real-time projects only where we can put them in our resume, right, Basil?
Yes, these are projects I prepared based on, of course, based on my work knowledge. These are projects I prepared, and yes, they can be put on your resume. And generally, I won't be. You would be preparing your resume yourself, and I will be there for validating it. You don't want to be putting. I won't be giving you the lines to put on your resume. You would be doing it yourself. But yeah.
Okay.
Hi, Basil. I'm Bibin here.
Hi, Bipin.
I just want to know that do we cover all of the topic from the AWS, GCP, etc. So I'm planning to certify in AWS. That's why I'm asking.
Now, our course won't help in the AWS or any cloud certification. We will
Yeah.
be focusing on Kubernetes related services. And I have, if you want, for AWS, I can help. I have a pre-recorded course I can give you.
Okay.
There is no extra charge for that. All of you, I can give a course on AWS. It's 1 year old course actually, but that also won't help you clear the exam. You must take some sample question. You have to take some course from Linux Academy, or there are many certification related courses for AWS GCP. You will get many courses, certification based courses. You can easily get them.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So any questions? Shall we? Amaya, you have any question? I think you are getting muted and unmuted. Now you are on mute.
Am I audible right now?
Yeah, now you are audible. Yes.
Yeah, in case if anybody needs any help with the AWS certification, I have a PDF for Solution Architects exam. It's a 500 pages PDF, and if you just go through it, it has everything which is necessary. And yeah, you can directly connect with me in case if anybody needs it.
Okay, sure. Thanks, Amaya.
Yep, no problem.
I'll connect to you. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so shall we wind up? I think.
Yeah, thank you, Basil, for the session. Basil.
Thanks
I'll
so
have
much.
to drop off.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Sure. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank
Bashir.
you.
Thank you,
Tomorrow,
Basil.
same link.
Thank you, Basil.
Bye.
Thank you, Basil. Thank you for the session.
All right. Thank you. I'll see you guys tomorrow.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Bye bye.
Basil.
Thank you.